Good evening, everybody. If you watched the first video, you'll know that I just came out of about an hour of Reiki and deep meditation. So I hope that you have a chance to listen to that later if you didn't already. It's very, very deep guided relaxation, angelic protection, and Reiki. So I hope that I'm giving some people some relief and an uplift. Thank you to those who already joined me. So I'm going to just start by saying what's coming to me, and that is that we're bombarded with messages right now from everyone, and opinions, and science and not science, and scams, and you name it. It's really, really important that we learn to trust our intuition about who we listen to during this time, listening to ourselves, but also who we resonate with and listen to for our information. Now, when it comes to trusting yourself with who to listen to, um, being deeply relaxed is part of that. Once you can deeply relax, you're going to feel much more acutely if something doesn't feel right, something feels off. And that might be a sensation of awkwardness, a sensation of feeling even like tightness or sick to your stomach, or you might even feel sometimes as you're watching all of the coverage that you even have symptoms just by watching all of the news. I know I did. So we got to be careful not to take on the energy of the illness just by watching news if you're healthy. And even if you're feeling a little bit of symptoms or you're not healthy, you need to detach a bit from feeling the collective fear in that's not going to help you. It's hard for us all not to take on some of it. We need some for a reason, but to be marinating in constant social media and news and fear is not going to do anyone a service. The second thing I wanted to say is that some people, there's many people going to say similar things to what I'm about to say, but sometimes we want to hear it from a certain person or in a certain way. So again, if you're resonating with what I'm saying, then perhaps, you're my tribe, and perhaps this is the right message. I'm the right messenger. And if you're not resonating with what I'm saying or something about me, then I'm not your messenger, and that's fine. I encourage everybody to find your sources, the people and the places and the sources you trust. And if they're the right ones for you, they'll either bring you a sense of feeling more grounded, um, keeping the worry in check, clarity on what to do, something that feels true, something that feels hopeful, then that's the right person for you. So I feel like I've been talking about this shift for 20 years or more, personally, and it feels like unless people are also light workers, most of them are not listening. So for me, I've been struggling myself with feeling like no one wants to really listen again. We're all in a panic. Some of this is based on astrology that I looked at, many years ago, many of us astrologers. This convergence of planets that we went through in January, early January, I did not correlate whether that configuration matched the announcement of the outbreak in China, but it was pretty much a week after or so. The planetary configuration right now of Pluto in Capricorn, and then Saturn coming to join it, Jupiter coming to join it, Mars now joining it, and the moon also joining it yesterday and today, means that we're at the probably the most intense peak of maybe not the virus, but perhaps of it sinking in, that there is massive changes happening and needing to happen. Capricorn is all about the father, patriarchy, authority, government, and all the systems that we are foundational systems that we live by, and therefore our commerce. Now, many people are obviously afraid of the virus, but I think there's just as many people or more afraid of the economy, the economic factors. When Pluto was last in Capricorn, we had the American Revolution. So many astrologers have wondered, when Pluto comes around again, will we see another revolution? Um, I'm not feeling that this is the revolution. This is like a lead up. And it doesn't mean 100% that we will have a revolution or need one. This depends on us. How much are we going to respond and adapt and respect the planet? And we have to get off this cycle of greed that we're in, this cycle of addiction that we're in, this cycle of um, well, in the tarot, the the Capricorn sort of side of would be what they'd even call debauchery. So when things have become too much about climbing up, 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 you know, bigger, bigger, better, more money, more status, higher, higher, higher we go. More everyone expecting to be living at a luxury standard, as if luxury is normal. Um, then we have a problem, right, of entitlement, of excess, of force used against others to maintain the status and the excess. And then we have, of course, what we see happening, which is part of the lead up to revolution. If we don't change it, is we have bigger, bigger and bigger companies, conglomerates, governments, more and more just elites, uh, amalgamating things into bigger and bigger walled off systems that alienate and put people down to, um, you know, slave class, basically. Now, I'm not a sociologist or a historian or anything of that to say where are we at on the scale of that. Lots of people can argue we already have that. There's still a middle class, but it is shrinking, right? We see that. But are we really at a state where it's desperate enough to storm the Bastille? I don't know. So to me, the what I'm hearing is that the virus that we're seeing and is a wake up call to really take a look at our system and our level of respect for the planet and the level of greed that and entitlement that we live with. And it's going to be a time of restructuring a lot of things. And it really depends how prolonged this is in different areas, how much decision making and restructuring will happen. If we're out of the woods and the virus is contained in 2 or 3 weeks, people might just go back to normal, relieved, but still doing everything as they did. However, it's more the economic impact that I think is going to be putting a lot of pressure on certainly our government to make decisions about borders and supplies and wage protection and protecting the businesses that are out there running and protecting people in general. We will certainly see, I'm sure, measures come in now that will alter or last after the virus has gone. Now, on a personal level, I can speak more to how to handle this than making global predictions. But the last thing I'll say about global prediction is that it feels like we've had lots of signs. We've had lots of outrage and lots of things going on the planet that people are upset about. Now it's come to our door with a virus. To me, this is very, very much like the Tower card in the tarot. I'm going to find it. The Tower, you're not going to like the card when I show you because it's sort of a scary one, but I'll explain. It's a transformation, but it's a difficult transformation because with the Tower card, we've always ignored the warnings, we ignored the whispers, and now it's screaming. And the scream forces us to make changes. So we feel like, oh my God, what's happening? I'm forced to do this, or I'm forced to do that, or I didn't want. But if we're right now, if we're really honest, any of the big changes we're being asked to make, they're not such a surprise. We've probably had those warnings or inching towards them for a long time now. So here's the Tower card, if you can see it. Looks pretty scary, yeah. The Tower is the card where it's like, we warned you once, we warned you twice, now we're pulling the rug out, now you're forced. So the thing is, the Tower also liberates you. This is the positive side of what's going on. There's a crisis at first. There were warnings that the crisis would get to this point. We didn't listen. Now we get full-on crisis, forced to deal with things we didn't want to have to deal with, or we were hoping, maybe, yeah, hopefully. And then it says, no, here I am, you got to deal with me. And it puts us into crisis mode. And yes, there's things we lose in crisis mode. At the same time, though, once the Tower has fallen down, so to speak, you are liberated, you're free, you're out of jail. So how will this play out in your personal life? Because it's hitting us a lot with regulations and economics, you might see big changes in your job. Some of you might have to admit, that warned you once, warned you twice. Maybe you've been hating your job. So if you're suddenly not working as much or at all, as hard as this is to hear, because I know it is when we're in crisis, it's always hard. But really, step back and ask yourself, did I like this job anyway? You might not. There's a reason that that this is in your own life, or this is the way you can make meaning out of it, is, okay, it's an opportunity to change where I work if I hate it, or to change how, or to contribute to making it better when I go back, or something like that. And if you do love your work, well, now the crisis might liberate you. Some people will get very creative or very ambitious during this time. I've been quite amazed to see what's going on with a lot of the light workers, healing community. It's like overnight, a bunch of us, we all, like a few people that I messaged privately, we all just got this ding, go online, do things online. I mean, multiple of us felt the same thing, as if it was like a broadcast from somewhere else that told us, get your ass online. And so there's a lot of creative things and new alliances and new ways of working that'll come with working from home. Not everyone likes that, I know, but there could be lots of great benefits for people working from home if you get creative around it. Maybe you're going to like working at home. Maybe you'll realize that, you have a little more ease in your schedule or ease in your deadlines. Or maybe if you're an introvert, you're pretty happy that you're home and don't have to be in traffic and go to an office. Maybe. So there's an awakening going on in our work. Obviously, some industries it's going to be rough because, again, do they represent some sort of imbalance or excess? And I can't tell you what that's going to look like. Honestly, right now it's too soon. But let's say, for example, I don't know. I don't want to single out any industry as if it's good or bad, but let's just say any business or industry that is not in alignment with um, our values of that takes care of people, takes care of the community, that's equal, that's anything that's harming the environment or harming individuals. That's one thing that, when we don't have as much flow in the economy, those things will suffer. We don't have the money for our excesses the same way. Some people are going to really go through severe withdrawal on that, I know. Um, and in general, it's grounding us all, right? It's putting us all at home in quarantine. Now, a lot of people I know are having a hard time with that. Personally, I love that. I love that. I I've been able to have healing breakthroughs that I would not have been able to have otherwise, because the world has just become too frenetic. And no matter how much I'm living by water or living by woods, and no matter how much work I do to try to go inward and be calm, I found it was almost impossible for me in the city, for one thing. When I moved to a different environment and there's more nature and more water around me, it was easier. But there's still something frenetic all the time. And I think a lot of it is our technology and our social media, which I do love in some ways too, in many ways, and benefit from. But there's still like a all the time. And it's harder to do the deeper and deeper work for all of us. Even when you want to, it's hard. And now I find with everything sort of slowing to this degree, yeah, it feels a little surreal when you go outside. It feels maybe even eerie in certain towns, right? But there's also just a really nice space and calm that I haven't felt in a long time. I've resumed my hobbies. I've started my sewing again. I've been cooking meals instead of running to restaurants. I've been eating more simply and enjoying it and tasting it instead of, when you're adrenalized, your senses aren't as sharp, so you crave more stuff, more salty, more sweet, more whatever, more alcohol, more faster this, more French fries, more video games, more, it's that addictive cycle that we've all been in for so long. And this is like, right now the tower would be sort of like, okay, the addict is going to rehab. Tough crap. That's what this is in many ways for many of us. And it's never pleasant to go through withdrawal, but it's necessary. So I find it really hard to predict on what level it's going to change. But I know for sure with everybody, going inside, staying put, being in their homes, dealing with their stuff, dealing with their family and their kids because everyone's home. Whatever we've been running from, now it's like right here. You can't run. You're going to have to look at it, and you're going to have to find solutions and take some decisions. And that's a Capricorn thing too. Taking charge, restructuring. Um, Capricorn in its best aspect is really like the provider, um, the one who is like the good father that we had or wished we had, you know? And so it's that protective foundation that's there for all of us is what is coming under fire with Pluto and Capricorn, Saturn, Mars, everything. and our system is sort of screaming, is this system really supporting everyone or not? And it needs restructuring. Does that mean it's going to be a revolution? Maybe, but we're not there now. But the virus to me is like a metaphor of, um, hello, wake up, time to do this. You know, it's, we weren't listening, or we didn't collectively act, or we didn't legislate or whatever fast enough, even though we're capable. When there's a crisis, boy, don't we see how fast government can do things when they want to. They can pull out billions of dollars to bail people out overnight. They can shut down borders overnight. They can do it if they want to. So it's this whole thing of people feeling like they're screaming for, like, you're not listening, for whatever help that we wanted, on different things. And now the government, because of a crisis, we see, oh no, they do have the money and they do have the power to act. And, we can all criticize how fast or slow that's been happening. But I personally feel that Canada's done a pretty good job of recognizing it pretty quickly and acting pretty quickly. I mean, I personally feel safe based on the way Canada's acting. That's me. Other countries, I feel a little more concerned for the U.S., I have to say, because I feel some not taking it as seriously as quickly. It's spread further faster before measures were taken, but it seems to be also catching up dramatically this week. So, all this to say, for me, what I'm hearing is like the virus is, it's, all the protests, all the unsatisfaction, all the call outs to change things that have just sort of fallen on deaf ears. It took a virus to wake everyone up to collectively, and to wake up the governments to act. So we have a role to play in how we can influence the future and with what we want going forward as new structures and new regulations, and to get to that place where it is the positive Capricorn, the good father, the provider, instead of the excessive elitist, entitled elitist. And so I hope everybody out there is using this time to think about what is working in my life and what area is really not working. That's your tower moment, to think about and really be honest with yourself. Where do you need to really make some big changes to be happier and healthier and more balanced? If we all are doing that to some degree, as well as washing our hands and staying home and distancing, all of those things, but if we are also doing our inner work, and we're also doing our very best to stay calm, and also I'd add, like, to do our best to keep our economy going by supporting our local business and our practitioners as much as we can right now, then you're doing your part. None of us as individuals are capable of fixing it alone. So you do, and make peace with your part in it. And we can do a lot as individuals, certainly collectively. So that's as much as I'm getting this evening to share. I'm just going to smudge one more time tonight. If any of you would like to chat about anything, or you'd like a little help, there's so many people, so many great practitioners and readers and coaches and yoga teachers. There's lots of great people out there online helping now, musicians, giving their music. There's lots of great things, creative things going on. So hopefully you'll be inspired by that aspect of it. That can be a revolution too. So Wish everybody well. Have a good evening. Have a good sleep. Stay calm. Stay rested. Stay safe.